Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're talking about Facebook. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jake Kahersky. I've been in marketing for the last 15 years, and I'm here to share all of my knowledge with you. And so today we're going to go over how to set up a pixel, how to push it onto your WordPress website, how to track events using Google Tag Manager, how to set it up within GoHighLevel, and then beyond that, how to send conversions back so Facebook can have all of that data and help you to optimize your campaigns. So let's dive into it. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the pixel itself. So what is a Facebook pixel? The way I like to explain it to people is imagine that there's a very small, like 1x1 image on your website where anytime anybody goes to your website, Facebook can capture that person's information, know exactly who they are, and allow you to use that in the future, right? So the Facebook pixel is actually a small piece of code that you're going to place on your website. It helps you track the actions of visitors to your site so that you can better understand their behavior and improve your advertising. So why is that important for marketing? So the pixel collects valuable data of every person that visits your site and what pages they're visiting on your site to track conversions from Facebook ads. So you can track them directly with the pixel or with the data set, and you can optimize your ads, you can build target audiences for future ads, and you can remarket to people who have gone to your site and maybe didn't purchase anything, right? So overall, tracking conversions with the pixel, you can see how people interact with your site after seeing your Facebook ad. So it means you can track actions like purchases, signups, or any other valuable action, right? Now, on top of that, it's not necessarily showing you exactly how people interact with your site, but it tells you on every single page that they land on what they're actually doing. So I'm going to dive into that a lot more, but let's talk a little bit about what they're doing. So it can help you optimize your ads by understanding what actions people are taking on your site. You can create better ads. You know that this ad is getting more people to purchase, as an example, or this ad is getting more leads generated. You can build target audiences with the pixel based on people that have gone to your site. So basically, if the pixel is capturing all of those people going to your site, you can then build custom audiences or lookalike audiences based on those people. And then again, you can remarket to anybody that's gone to your site, so you can directly target them. So practical benefits of it is just improved ROI, right? By using the data from the pixel, you can make your ads more effective, leading to a better return on investment. And so it's critical. I mean, I tell people, even if they're not advertising on Facebook right now, to add the pixel to Facebook or add the pixel to their website, because if you don't, and you ever want to advertise in the future, you won't have any data to start with. And so the pixel will pick up anybody coming from any website. So if you're advertising on Google, as an example, or Microsoft, and somebody comes to your site from Google or Microsoft, you can retarget them with direct ads on Facebook after they come to your site. Massive potential, massive benefits. So if you don't have your pixel set up, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in this video. Actually, I want to start with one thing, and we're gonna actually start with plugins, because one of the most important things to get when we're doing this and to know how the pixel is working is the Meta Pixel helper. And so if you actually just type in plugins in Google, it'll take you right to the Chrome Web Store, and you find the Meta Pixel helper extension, and just download it and add it to your Chrome, because this is going to tell you every time you visit your site exactly what's firing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So let's go ahead and dive right into building the pixel. So this is just a fresh business account with no information on it, right? And so if you actually go to business.facebook.com, you're going to see it's just a fresh account. We're actually going to go to settings, and then we're going to go to data sources, and it used to be called pixels, but now they're calling it data sets specifically. So we're going to click on data sets, and there's no data sets found because this one doesn't have any, so we're going to add one. All right, and we're going to let's call it YouTube Test Pixel 2024. Oh, let's get rid of that. All right, let's go ahead and create it. I have seen sometimes it doesn't actually show up right away, so you kind of have to refresh the page. So let's refresh, see if it's there. All right, perfect. So now it exists. So now we're going to click into the actual data set, And everything we're going to do within this data set is going to be in the Events Manager. So right here, these 3 dots, we can open in Events Manager. So now we have a pixel set up. So that's the very first step. Now that you have a pixel, you can start utilizing it to capture all of that information as soon as the page loads. All right, so there's a couple of options here. You can send events from a server. You can set up your meta pixel. I'm also going to show you guys how to set up the CRM specifically if you guys are using Highlevel. So stick around. There's a ton of information coming at the end of this video, and I can guarantee you it's some stuff that you've never seen with Highlevel. So we're going to start by setting up the meta pixel, right? So it's gather website events from browser activity. So if you click here, what we're going to do is actually install the code manually. I'm going to show you guys a couple ways to do that. And I'm going to show you how to do it in both WordPress. I'm going to show you how to utilize Google Tag Manager to set it up. And I'm also going to show you guys how to do it within Highlevel. So I'm going to click Install Code Manually. Now, when you do that, it's actually going to give you the base code. And that base code is the code you can use to track page events on all of your sites. So we're going to copy this code because it's going to be used quite a bit throughout this tutorial. So I'm going to copy it here. And then I'm actually going to hop over here. I created a Google Doc. And in this Google Doc, I'm actually going to store all of this information. So if I need to reference it in the future, I can reference it within the document. All right, let's go back to the events. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. You can turn on advanced matching, and basically it's going to pull additional information if that information is captured by the pixel, and it's going to send it back to Facebook. It's not going to hurt anything with it on, so you can pop it on. It's not going to hurt anything. And then adding the event code. So you can use the event setup tool, and we'll actually get to that in a little bit. I'll probably circle back around to it. And basically, like if you want certain things to trigger on your site, like for instance, if they click your phone number to call, then you can have that trigger a conversion with the website pixel. I know I'm getting a little bit too much into it, but I'm gonna explain everything later in the video. So we're not gonna do this now. We're just gonna go to Pixel Overview. All right, and then there's a couple things once we get here that are critically important to ensuring that you can actually send conversions back later. And so we're going to grab that information now. And so if I go over to settings, the first thing I'm going to look at is the actual pixel or data set ID, right? So if you hover over it, you can actually copy it. And I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it right here. Now, one thing you will notice is that in the code right here, the metapixel code, it's doing a couple things. We can pretty much ignore most of the things that are happening up here. But there's two critical things that you have to be aware of that are going to actually be very important moving forward, and especially if you're going to add it to specific pages to track events happening on those pages. So the first thing is, this is the exact data set ID that I just copied, right? So this within the code is telling Facebook what pixel to use when capturing this information. And then beyond that, what to track whenever this JavaScript fires, whenever this metapixel code fires. So right now it's set to page view, right? And that means that it's going to fire. If you have it on every page of your site, it's going to fire and tell Facebook that there was a page view on your site, right? So again, the actual pixel ID and then what it's tracking depending on what page you have this code on. So if you put this page on this code on all of your pages, then Facebook's going to track a page view for all of your pages, right? Now, beyond that, so we have our pixel ID, we have it saved here. We're going to use that later. We're going to go back in here and we're going to come down within settings under the conversion API section, and we're going to generate an access token, okay? So we generate the access token. This access token is going to help us with the overall conversions once we get to the high level side. So once it generates us an access token, we're going to take that, we're going to copy it, and we're going to paste it into that same document. Of course, Facebook doesn't want to generate it for me right now. Oh, there it is. All right, so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it into this document so we have it for later. All right, so now we have our metapixel code, we have our pixel ID, and we have our access token. All right, so now what do? The first thing we're going to do is take this code and ensure that it's on our website so that the metapixel helper is tracking it properly, okay? Now there's multiple ways you can do that, and I'm gonna start by showing you guys what it looks like on WordPress. Okay, so now we're in our WordPress admin. What I like to use is plugins, because I mean, plugins make life easier. So if I go over to plugins, the plugin that I want to use for this specifically, after you hit plugins, go to add new plugin, and we're going to search for WP Code. And basically what this is a plugin that allows you to insert headers and footers. Okay, and so this is what we want. And once we install it, we're actually going to see something called code snippets down at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see it with my face here, but code snippets is what we're going to be looking for. So once you install it, just click install now, and you'll see code snippets on the left-hand side. So if you actually go over to code snippets, you'll now see it in your left-hand side. You have header and footer. And all you got to do is take your pixel code and pop it right into the header. Oh, I didn't actually copy it. All right, let's copy it. And you just pop it right here. Right now I have Tag Manager on, and I'm going to show you guys how to set up Tag Manager as well. But now your meta pixel code is on your site, and you can remove this, and you have it right in the header. All right, and then we would save changes, and now the pixel code is actually on your site. So now you know that it's going to fire on every single page that loads, and it'll fire with page view. All right, so if I were to save changes here, then it would have the meta pixel code firing on all pages, just because I downloaded a quick plugin that's code snippets, and I modified the header, and I just saved the changes. Super simple, super straightforward. Now your pixel for page view is set up. But as we were talking about it earlier, we were talking about tracking actual conversions as they go to different points of your site, right? And so let's dive into that a little bit more. So if I want to set it up to where if they submit a form and they land on a thank you page, that it fires a lead conversion back to Facebook, then I'm going to have to set this up differently. Now, you can get into the actual PHP scripts on your site and start modifying them based on the page itself for WordPress, but it's much, much easier if you just utilize Google Tag Manager. And so what I'm doing here is I just went to tagmanager.google.com. All right, and this is a fresh account. I'm going to create an account. I'm going to call it FB, or let's just call it YT vid test, right? Call it whatever you want. You could probably call it the actual website name or your company name, right? And then the container name itself. So you have, actually, this is account name. So let's go, yeah, I mean, this is just a test, so that's fine. YouTube video test. And then we'll call this container name Reach Unleashed. reachunleashed.com. All right, we're going to use it for web specifically, and we're going to create the container. All right, I agree to the terms and services. All right, and now this is very similar to the Facebook pixel. So once you have your Google Tag Manager, you want to take this code up here and put this in the header, and you want to put this in the body. But before we get to that, we want to set up an actual tag, right? And what a tag is something that's going to fire based on specific events that are happening, right? And so what I'm going to do is create a new tag, and within the tag configuration, I'm going to use custom HTML, and I'm going to paste in the meta pixel code. So now we have that here, but when does this actually fire, right? So we're going to call this at Facebook page view. All right. And right now, this is what's going to fire, but we need to know when to fire. And so what we're going to do is create a trigger. And what we're going to do is all pages, which is already set for you here. On all pages, I want this JavaScript to fire. So now it's acting the same as just putting it in the header of my site. This is going to fire every time a page view happens on my website. But I do need to save it, publish it, and then take my, all right, now that it's published, I'm going to go back to the workspace, go back to the tags. Actually, I'm going to click right here where it says GTM, and it's going to give me all of that information again. So now this time, I'm going to copy the header here. I'm going to go back to my site, and I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm going to add the header for Google Tag Manager. I'm going to go back. I'm going to copy the body tag. I'm going to paste that here, and now I'm going to save it. All right, now you're going to see that everything is set up with Google Tag Manager right here. So on every page view, the Google Tag Manager is going to fire, and Google Tag Manager knows for this tag to fire on all pages. So it works kind of the same, right? But let's say I want to send Facebook a lead conversion event, right? So in this case, what I would do is create a new tag, and I'm going to do the same type of thing, but in this time, I'm going to say custom HTML. I'm going to paste it all in. Oh, I got to get the code again. This is where it gets kind of tricky, but I'm going to paste it all in, and everything under script all the way up through the pixel name or pixel ID right here, I'm going to delete. And then everything underneath, I'm going to delete. All right. Now I'm also going to, so all I'm going to have here is FBQ track, but instead of track, I'm going to say lead. And so now for this to fire, it's only going to fire when I want it to, and it's only going to fire a lead conversion back, right? And so what do I need this to trigger on? Well, I need it to trigger when we get to the thank you page. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say, I'm going to add a new trigger, and I'm going to set the configuration to be on a page view, but only some pages. And I'm going to say page path contains thank you. All right. So now anytime there's a page view where a page path contains thank you, this trigger is going to fire. I'm going to call this lead event. All right. And then we'll do Facebook lead event. All right. Perfect. I save that. And I submit it. All right. Now we are all set where we have page view on all pages, and we have a lead event firing only when they get to the thank you page. And now Facebook will know every page view and every time I get a new lead, because after they get to my site, they're going to see, they will submit a form, they will get to the thank you page, and they will see that. So let's go ahead and just do a quick test to make sure that it's working properly. So let's go to reachunleashed.com. We're going to scroll down here. We're going to say, oh, actually, let's just start by looking at the page, right? And you can see that this metapixel ID fired because of the metapixel helper. And this is what fired, the page view, right? And only the page view. Well, if I go to reachunleashed.com/thank you, now I see two different events. I see a lead and a page view. So now we know that both of those fired when they landed on the thank you page. So now we know that we're set up properly. All right. So now we have everything set up on a WordPress site. We have two different ways to do it. We can just push the Facebook direct code in using code snippets, or we can utilize Google Tag Manager and have specific events fire based on what we want to do. Super simple, super straightforward. This is the way I prefer to do it with all of my clients. And that way, Facebook will start capturing all of that information. All right, so now we're going to set up the Facebook pixel code within a GHL site, right? So if you have a funnel running and you want to set everything up properly within GHL, we're going to do that by copying the metapixel code. We're going to come over to Highlevel, right? And now let's say this is a funnel that you're going to use, right? So you have a landing page, let's say you have a survey page, then a booking page, then a thank you page, right? Well, if you want to track as they're going through all of these pages, It's pretty straightforward, actually. The first thing you want to do is go to settings, and in the settings of your funnel, you actually have a header and a body, right? So we're actually going to paste the Facebook JavaScript right in the heading. All right. And then we're going to actually copy this. And actually, if I expand this out, right, we're going to copy this right here. And right now it's FBQ track page view, right? But we might want to track different things throughout the process of this, right? So we're going to leave this here and we're going to save it. And so now anytime anybody lands on any of the pages within this funnel, it's going to track the page view within the funnel. And now if we want to track specifically like lead conversions or a booking conversion to send back, then what we're going to do is go to the individual page. We're going to actually open it up to edit. And then we're going to come up here to tracking code, and we're going to start it with a script. And we're going to add the tracking, and we're going to say this is a lead, right? Because if they land on the survey, they've already become a lead. And then we're going to end the script, and we're going to save it. Now I'm going to copy this because we're going to continue using this. So we're going to go ahead and save this, and then we're going to save it here and publish it if your site is published. I'm not sure if this one is. Then we're going to go to the booking page. So now we know at the end of the survey, it gets redirected to the booking page. So we're going to go in here and we're going to edit the booking page. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go up to the tracking code. We're going to pop this in here, but instead of lead, we're going to say submit application. All right, save that, save this. All right, and then last is the thank you page. So this they get to after they book an appointment. So now we're going to come in here and we are going to do the same thing. We're going to edit the tracking code, pop this in, and we'll do, what's a good one for this? Schedule. So we'll do schedule as what we're tracking. We'll save that, save that. And now if your site is published and anybody goes to any one of the sites, it is actually going to track everything all the way through. And so you'll have your overall landing page. So you'll get a page view on the landing page. If they get to the survey page, it will fire off a lead to Facebook via the pixel. If they get to the booking page, it's going to fire off submit application. And if they get to the thank you page after the booking page, it's going to fire off the schedule conversion. So now you have all of your conversions directly on the page itself, and that's all through the pixel itself. So easy way to set it up if you're setting it up for multiple pages within your actual GHL account within a funnel. So that's all set. Now, next thing to do is if you're using Highlevel, which I highly recommend if you're doing any type of marketing because of the massive capabilities from just a marketing attribution reporting standpoint, but also a conversion standpoint. And so there's a few things we need to do to get all of that set up. So we're going to actually dive back in and we're going to start by setting up all of the Facebook on form leads. I'm going to tell you exactly how that works. I'm going to break it down on the setup within Facebook, how to connect to the CRM, how to send a test event, how to integrate it with the CRM system, and then how to actually send conversions back with higher values as they go through the pipeline stages. And then once that's done, then we're going to dive into funnel events, like events that happen on your website, to send those back to Facebook. And then I'm going to show you some really cool stuff about sending conversions that happen offline and sending them directly through GHL. All right, so let's kind of dive into this. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect data sources. So if we go back to business.facebook.com and we're in the events manager here, if we hit the plus sign right over here, we hit connect data sources. What we're going to do is connect the CRM. All right, and so I'm going to hit connect here, next, and then this is the pixel that we're working with here. All right, I'm going to hit continue. All right, this might take a second to load. All right, so now we're going to choose our CRM. All right, we're going to start typing lead connector. Actually, just lead, and then we'll find it right here. We'll click that. We're going to use a third-party partner to connect in fewer steps. No coding required. We're going to select lead connector, and we're going to click go to partner. And that's just going to take us to the site itself. It is important when doing this that we ensure that we are fully integrated. So what we're going to do is go to, like within here, go to settings, go to integrations, and then we're going to, let's see here, we're going to find Facebook and we're going to connect. All right, I'm going to continue. All right, and we'll just say this one, connect the page. All right, and now we are fully set up on this specific account. It's just a test account. You can select the ad account as well. I don't even need to do that right now. But the one other thing when working with forms specifically on Facebook forms is you need to go to Facebook form fields mapping and you need to map the fields. Once you do map them and you save it, then you'll get a little green checkbox. And that's the checkbox you want. If you do not map these fields, the lead forms from Facebook will not go into the system. But once you map them, then it's all integrated. It's all connected, and it will pull every lead that comes in directly into the system for you. All right, so now that that's done, let's go back to Facebook. So now we want to, well, now we chose our CRM. Now we want to send a CRM event, right? And so the easiest way to do this would be to test one, right? And so I believe I have a tab open here. Yeah, so lead ads testing tools, right? So developers.facebook.com/tools/lead-ads-testing. And I'll paste it right here too, just so you guys can see it. Developers.facebook.com/tools/lead-ads-testing, lead-ads-testing. And when you go there, what you can do is, if you have a form, make sure you have a form there, right? And we're going to create a lead. All right. Now it's been created. Your test lead has been sent. To create a new lead, please delete this one. All right. So now we have a test lead sent, and eventually it'll get through this as well. And you'll actually have the CRM integrated with all of the information. But we also want to actually set up the conversions within our system, right? So now that we have our CRM connected, now we need to set up the actual lead events for on Facebook lead forms and set it up to send conversions back as they move through the pipeline. All right, so we're going to start by hopping back into the system, and let's go to automations. I have them all set up already in this snapshot, but let's just kind of walk through it, and then we can kind of look from there. So the first thing we're going to do is when we get a lead form submitted, right? And you can filter it down to the actual lead form that you want, or you can do any Facebook lead form submitted. The first thing we want to do is create or update an opportunity, right? Now, a couple of things about this. When you do this, you select the pipeline. So this would be like on a lead creation. As the lead's coming in, you add it to a pipeline. GHL in their documents recommends that you allow duplicate opportunities. I'm not necessarily a fan of that unless you're moving them through different pipelines. And if you're moving them through different pipelines and then valuing them differently, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But I wouldn't use allow duplicate opportunities and just make sure that they're firing as they move through pipeline stages. So Facebook form lead submitted, create or update an opportunity. We're going to create an opportunity in this placeholder pipeline stage 1. I like to name opportunities, contact name, contact phone, or you can do contact email here. And then the opportunity source would be the contact source. You can also put a lead value in, right? So now this lead's value is within the opportunity, which will come in handy and be important as you're sending these conversions back. All right. Now, once you do that, now this one is set. This is when new leads come in to create the initial opportunity. Now, every time they move through the pipeline stage, you actually want to update them. So what I do is, okay, we have pipeline stage 1. And as it enters pipeline stage 1, we can send a conversion API. based on the triggers that are in this workflow. So what I do is I create 1, 2, 3, 4, or sorry, 3, 4, 5. I don't know why it's like that, but I create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triggers. And the trigger is when pipeline stage has changed. So as they go into 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I mean, this could be new lead, this could be qualified, this could be booked, this could be showed, and this could be closed, right? As they move through these pipeline stages, you want to trigger them into this workflow so you can send a conversion back to Facebook. And so I use the actual trigger, and whatever trigger it is going down the list, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, I send conversions back to Facebook. So what I do is I basically label it all the same, right? But here's the important part. You need to have your access token and your pixel ID, right? And then you want to send the overall stage name, which is the opportunity stage that they're currently in, right? So we talked about saving this pixel ID and this access token, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the pixel ID. I'm going to come back in here, and we're actually going to go to custom values. And I already created them, but there's Facebook access token as a custom value, and there's Facebook pixel as a custom value. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this one, and I'm going to pop in my pixel ID. All right, I'm going to update that, and I'm going to do the same thing for the access token. And this way, if I ever have to change my pixel for some reason, or if I ever have to regenerate my access token, all I have to do is change it in this one place, right? And so I'm going to take the access token, I'm going to pop it in here and update the value. And now I have custom values for my Facebook access token and my pixel. And so if you go back to that workflow we were just taking a look at, off on conversions, excuse me. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I run an if statement. So I say if, and I break it down, right? So I say if the workflow trigger is pipeline stage 1, then go down this path. And so it's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5, right? And so every time I'm pulling the actual stage name, but I'm also pulling the access token and the pixel ID directly from the custom values that I created, all right? So that is important. So you put in your pixel, you put in your access token, and now every time a lead form comes in, it creates an opportunity. It also sends a lead conversion with value. And then as they move through your pipeline stages, it adds more value to that individual lead. And that's it for individual on Facebook form leads. You will be sending those conversions back. And the one thing that's not really talked about is that you can only do this when like pipeline stages are changing for lead forms. And the reason for that is when a lead form comes in, there's an actual event ID and there's information that's captured from that lead form that GHL doesn't natively capture and allow you to work with on anything related to the website. And so I don't want to go into too much detail on it, but basically the only time we can trigger off of pipeline stage changing is when a lead form, an on Facebook lead form comes in, and we can send basically the stage changes back to Facebook. All right. Now, I think a lot of this is going to change soon in GHL and actually be improved. And I'm going to show you guys why I think that towards the end of this video. But this is the basic setup for on Facebook lead forms. All right. So now we're going to go into website actions and what we can send back. So if you look at the documentation for just GoHighLevel help, when you talk about like Facebook conversion leads, they talk about a few things, right? They talk about funnel events and lead events. What we just went over is lead events. It's basically on Facebook form leads only, right? But we also have funnel events, which is a different form of the actual API that you can send back. Well, the thing is, you can only specifically fire that off of a trigger into a workflow that happens on the page. So as an example, and I'll show you guys user visiting the page a little later, but if they add a product to a cart, if they purchase, if they subscribe, if they submit an application, and there's more, but it's really like if you get a new lead, if they subscribe by putting their information in, if they purchase, if they add to cart, if they take action on your website, you can then trigger them into a funnel workflow. Okay. And so going back to this, we're going to talk about the funnel event specifically. And so, like as an example, I have order form submission, right? And I have form submitted, right? And based on the trigger, I'll send them down different paths. And so it might be that it was a form submitted or a purchase, right? And so this would be complete registration if they submitted a form, right? And again, access token. So I'm actually going to go in here and I'm going to go to custom values, Facebook access token. And then pixel, I'm going to update this, custom values, Facebook pixel. And then the Facebook event name, the actual value that you're passing through. If you want to test it, you can utilize a test code to actually start testing conversions. And you can do that all within Facebook. So when events happen on your website, if you trigger people into a workflow based on that event happening, you can send the information back to Facebook utilizing the Facebook conversion API. And so like I'm going to delete this for now, and I'm going to walk you guys through what I'm doing here, right? So we have order form submission or we have form submitted, right? This is an on Facebook, or so this is not an on Facebook form. This is an on your website form. And then I'm gonna say, okay, well, I have these two triggers where people can come in here and I want to send the conversions back, right? So I'm going to use an if statement, and I'm going to say if it is a form submitted, and it would be the workflow trigger is form submitted. And I'm going to add another branch and say if it is order form submitted. All right. And I'm going to say workflow trigger is order form submission. All right. And so now I have these two splits. And now I'm going to say, okay, let's do Facebook conversion API, right? And it's Facebook conversion API. I'm going to call this form submit. And now you see these two options, right? Lead event is what we were using for the on Facebook form leads. This is a funnel event, right? And so we want to, again, grab our access token, grab our pixel ID. Now we have the Facebook event name, which for this, it would be, I mean, we could use lead if we wanted to here, right? Which would be fine. We can use submit application, which, I mean, if they're submitting a survey, you can absolutely use submit application, right? I mean, I'd be fine for this one using lead, right? We'll say the value is $50, currency is USD, and then again, we can test it with the test code, which, I mean, I won't dive too much into, but if you wanted to test events, you can do website or CRM test, and it'll give you or actually, we would do website test, and you can just use this event code right there, test 52841. And if you put that in and then you throw something in, you can actually test to see if it goes through, right? But we're not going to do that right now. We're just going to save this. I'm going to say, okay, I want another one, and it's going to be Facebook conversion API. And I'm going to say order form, and we'll say funnel event again, right? We'll say access token. Let's set it up. And we'll say pixel ID. And we're going to say this is initiate checkout, maybe something, right? Value is $100 for this. Or maybe it's $500, which is the cost of the product, right? And then we'll save it. And then like we can also trigger off of survey submitted. Survey submitted could be the trigger. And then we can add another step or branch. We could say survey submitted. And we can say workflow trigger is, and it's actually not going to show up because I didn't save it, but let's save it here. And then add a branch, survey submitted. We're going to say workflow trigger is survey submitted. And then now we can send another one, right? And this one would be Facebook conversion API, funnel event. We got the access token. Probably just copy and paste this at this point. We got the pixel ID, Facebook pixel ID, and we're going to say this is submit application. And then this one is worth maybe $100, right? Higher value lead. Save it, and now we're done, right? So it's as easy as that to set up the actual conversion API for anything that happens on your website. But the thing is, if you set up your pixel properly within Tag Manager and you're firing the pixel on the site, you're also going to get conversions from there. Now, a lot of those might be lost with iOS or if they have an ad blocker or whatever it may be. So that is why it's important to have these. So you're sending not only on website pixel conversions via the pixel, you're now also sending CRM events via the CRM, and it's going to pass through any information it has. And that information is typically going to be like the FBP, FBC, information that Facebook knows and has to recognize and dedupe those leads. So now if you do get, let's say, somebody who's on their iPhone and the pixel doesn't pick them up, then you can send this conversion and you'll still have that conversion going through. That's why this is so massive. And that's why people use offline conversions or conversion API to ensure that all data is sent back every time, even if the information is lost. If somebody's using like a Brave browser or something, we still capture it here. We know that they're Facebook. We're going to send it in. Facebook's going to match them up with whatever ads they came from. And then you'll be able to see real results, not just results from your website. All right, now we're going to go back over to GHL because I want to show you guys something that's coming. I can tell that it's going to be big because this is like the beginning of just straight up conversions with GHL without a lot of things that you'll have to do. And so if we go back into a funnel, now they have events, and they just released this a few weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure they're still building it out in the background. But if you go to events, you can actually add an event, right? Right now it's limited to just page views, but eventually they may actually have additional conversions. So page view, scheduled application or submit application, even purchases may be able to pass directly through utilizing these new events that they're still building. And so basically all you have to do is put in your pixel ID, your access token, and then you can actually set it to do the entire funnel or on an individual page level. So if I say I only want to trigger page views when they hit the landing page, then you can set it up like that. Eventually, I'm assuming they're going to have page or on page view and different events based on which page they're hitting, which is going to be massive. So you put in your pixel ID, you put in your access token. This is also an easy way if you want to just specifically track page views by just putting in your pixel ID, putting in your access token, say do it on the entire funnel, and then go ahead and send them via conversion API, right? And so basically it can send via Meta Conversion API with all of those conversions, and I'm pretty sure this is going to get expanded pretty soon from GHL. All right, so now we've set up the pixel on your website. We've set up instant or Facebook on Facebook lead forms. We've also set up any like conversion API funnel events that we want. And so now I'm going to get into some stuff that's a little more deeper, right? And a lot of this is going to be almost like code based, but you don't need to understand code to understand what I'm doing here, right? And so the first thing I want to talk about is FBP and FBC parameters. So GHL does not capture event IDs for the specific person and the event that's happening. I've seen them capture it. I think they capture it for Facebook on Facebook lead forms, but GHL does capture FBP and FBC, and this is important. The problem is you cannot grab those without using some type of webhook or some type of like Zap or whatever you want, right? So instead of utilizing like webhooks that send information out, that try to capture the data, I'm doing everything from GHL specifically. And so here's how I'm doing it. So this is an actual client account, but what I do is if there's a form submitted, a call received via the phone pool, or a Facebook lead form submitted, I'm actually running a webhook right as the lead comes in, and the webhook is actually going directly to another workflow. All right. And so basically, I created a workflow that says inbound webhook, and here's the actual URL. And when a lead comes in, I send the lead to another workflow so I can capture all of the information that comes in with that lead. Right. And so you capture things that you might not have otherwise captured, like your FBC. Now, FBC is your click ID, but it's a unique identifier that Facebook uses to capture that person. So you're capturing the actual click ID in Facebook's format, and you're capturing the FBP, which is Facebook's specific unique identifier for anybody that comes to your site. And you're also capturing IP, and there's other information that's on the back end of GHL that you can grab with a direct webhook from one workflow to another. And so all you have to do is create an inbound webhook, copy this URL, and then in a different workflow, as a lead comes in, create an internal webhook, and then take that URL, copy it here, and then post it to the other workflow. And then what I do is after capturing the information, then I update based on the inbound webhook, custom fields for FBC, FBP, and IP, right? That's a lot more information than you thought you had, right? And this is going to allow us to utilize a specific webhook to actually send conversions back to Facebook, right? And so here's the thing. GHL does not actually hash data for you. And Facebook, when you're using Graph API, has to have hashed email, hashed phone, hashed name. So it makes it difficult if you can't do that within GHL. And so what my workaround is just using a PHP script directly on my website that I send the data out to, and it sends back hashed. So I'll talk a little bit about this. It gets into a lot more detail. This is definitely a bit more advanced stuff, but if you follow along, you can actually build this yourself. So what I do is lead comes in, I take that webhook, I push it over to another workflow, and I update this information. These are critical because they're specific unique identifiers for the person, right? And you can also send the IP back. Well, beyond that, if it is a Facebook lead, what I do is update all custom attribution fields. So basically any attribution that we have from what was captured by GHL in native attribution, I push it to custom fields. So like I capture all of this in custom fields. UTM source, campaign name, medium, Google click ID, Facebook click ID, last visit URL, UTM content, term, campaign. I take it all from the last attribution. And then I want to specifically parse the ad ID and ad set ID. And so I use an actual custom PHP script on my website, and I push the URL from the attribution source. I push the URL to that script, and what it sends me back is ad group, ad ID, and ad set ID. So if I have the ad set ID, I can push it directly back to the system and update a custom field with that ad set ID, right? Now, beyond that, I also update the ad group ID and ad ID with the information from the webhook response. But the real kicker there is not only do I capture the information, I use it, right? You can use that information to then push the sheets and run like really detailed reports. I'm going to actually go back out of this one. And then for offline conversions, what I do is I take all that information that I've captured, right? And I say, okay, if I have FBP because it exists, I'm going to hash the email and phone. I'm going to do that exactly like I did before, right? Where I use a script, I hash the email and phone with the script that's on my website. It sends it back. I capture it. It comes through like this. I update a custom field that says, here's the hashed email and the hashed phone of this person. I update the fields. I format the date and time because it has to be formatted to like a Unix timestamp in order to send the information back to Facebook. And then I take the Graph API and I take a payload and I actually send this back from GHL via Graph API with hashed email, hashed phone, FBC, and FBP with an actual value for the lead. And this is specifically on purchases, right? So if I want to, like, if you have a client that needs to send conversions back to Facebook and you want to do it with GHL, it's all possible. It's all right here, right? And this is how I use GHL to actually send conversions back to Facebook for anything that's offline, because you can only right now utilize the Facebook pixel for conversions that happen on your site. You can do on Facebook form leads and send them back via the conversion API for pipeline stage changes. You can capture anything that happens on your site, like a lead form submission or a survey or anything like that, and you can send conversions back. But what happens if you have a lead and they book an appointment, or you have a potential job and you make an appointment and you go out there and you talk to them and they end up using your service offline? What then? Well, now you can send those back, and you can send those back with all of this broken out, all within GHL with just a few workflows. And so I'm actually building out a snapshot right now that actually just does all of this for you. Plug and play, you plug it in and it starts actually doing it for you, along with walkthroughs and access directly to me if you have questions about it. I'm going to put a link in the description below, and so you guys can get updated when it's released. And basically, you can sign up for just an email when I actually finish the snapshot once it's out. If it is out, then I will have a direct link down in the description below. But basically, it's going to be a full attribution snapshot. So it's going to be all of the reporting, all of the native to custom fields, all of the conversions for Google, for Facebook, and for Microsoft, and everything will be set up for you. And it's basically going to be plug and play with a couple of explainer videos. I'm also offering, I'll put a link down below as well, just custom builds. So if you want a custom build for your specific business, I'll have a link in the description below where you can purchase a custom build where it will include a couple calls with me to kind of figure out what you guys need. But I'll build all of this out for you, custom for your particular client or your particular sub account. Beyond that, I still have a lot of videos coming, guys. I have one probably for Microsoft ads coming next. And I just want to show you one last thing. So once you start getting all of this attribution, if you've followed my videos that I've done before, once you get to the point where you have all of this attribution and you're capturing the data and you're pushing it to actual like smart lists, and you're utilizing it properly, you're actually going to be able to see things completely different than you see them now. And I'll give you examples. So this is one of my clients' accounts. So this is just a smart list that I built based on all of the attribution that I have. And at any time, they can go in and they can look at their leads and they can see exactly where they came from. UTM source, UTM campaign, medium, content, FBP, and there's a lot of other attribution information that's captured. I'm just giving you guys an example, right? So knowing where all of your leads came from, but beyond that, being able to export this and like run a pivot table just to see where all of your people are, right? You can take this information and update it to like opportunity fields. And so you can have custom opportunity fields that have your source attribution and all of the information. And then even beyond that, once you start doing that and you're utilizing custom fields, you can start building out dashboard reports that actually break it down for exactly how your business is doing on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and everything in between. So like, here's an example: newly created internet leads, appointments created, appointments booked for, daily shows from those appointments, shows booked for those days, new Facebook leads, new Bing leads, new Google leads, total closes, total revenue, breakdowns by Facebook ads report, Google ads report. These are native to the system. And then like this client was all over the place when I started working with them. And so a lot of it has been cleaned up, but this is like a few months ago, but you can actually see the source, the total leads, the total values, and where they are. All of this is possible within this system. You just have to build it correctly. And a lot of people that I talk to and that I've been working with, they struggle with that. And so if you need help with it, reach out to me. You can schedule a consultation below. I can do the full build for you, which includes some calls. And then keep an eye out for the snapshot. Again, sign up down below. I'll let you know when the snapshot's out. Beyond that, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. I got a lot more good stuff coming. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.